Hey guys, this is Jason
This
Douglas.
is Adam McArthur, voice of Yuji Itadori.
This is Derek Snow, the voice of Shinra Kusakabe.
This is Phil Parsons, voice of Kenny the Ripper Ackerman.
It's Merc Nguyen. You are watching Voice of the Heroes. Take it away, Fleeboy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, the one and only one, Fleeboy Jetson, and you're listening to the #1 podcast in the world, Voice of the Heroes. So if you're tuning in for the first time, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any interviews or discussions from your favorite heroes and villains from around the world. And today we are shining the spotlight on a very special guest. You probably heard him in One Piece, Black Clover, and things like Dragon Ball Super. He is the voice director for one of the hit new anime shows out, Kaiju #8. Let's welcome Shawn Gann. How you doing to the show, my brother?
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
I meant to say welcome to the show, my brother. How you doing to the show?
I'm doing great,
welcome
man.
to the show, man. How you doing? We're gonna talk some anime today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's talk about your beginnings, your origin story, things like that. What inspired you to become a voice actor, and how did you get into voice directing?
I guess I give the spiel that I give a lot of people. I'm a semi-immigrant to this country, born and raised in the Philippines, lived overseas my whole youth up to 18 before university. I watched a lot of anime, of course.
Not
don't want to give away my.
What was your favorite animes growing up?
Man, I loved. Obviously, I grew up on Dragon Ball Z. Well, I grew up strong, but Cowboy Bebop. I watched Ninja Scroll when I was younger. I was into Miyazaki stuff. I loved, My Neighbor Totoro. I loved they called it something else at the time, like Wind Warriors, but it's Nausicaa is what it was at the time. It had a weird, interesting dub. They redubbed everything now much better. But I saw things like Speed Racer and Voltron and Transformers. I mean, Transformers is a Western mix or whatever, but those are the things I saw and grew up on and fell in love with. But I never thought I could be a part of those things. I just thought, hey, those things are on TV, and one day, I'll be in the U.S. and I'll be doing film or television. And cartoons never even crossed my mind. Then I ended up in Texas, University of Texas, Arlington, go Mavs, and ran across people like Caitlin Glass, Anthony Bowling. They had close tie-ins with Joel McDonald, Eric Vale, all names you'll know in anime as well. Chris Sabat is amongst those names. And Funimation was very close to us, so I was close proximity. And they got into that facility as directors and actors, and I, as an actor who was networking and stuff, kind of followed along with them and made those connections. And even at that period, I wasn't like inspired to be a voice actor. I was a theater person. I had fallen back in love with theater, and I toured and I ran companies, and I thought that was going to be my life. I was going to be Steppenwolf. I was going to be at the Guthrie. I was going to be on Broadway. I was going to be the West End. That was going to be my deal. And lo and behold, I got married and realized I couldn't travel the world all the time and leave, my wife at home. I had to, expand my portfolio, diversify, and make sure that I could do all the things that a creative should do. So just like you guys, you got your podcast, you're doing YouTube, you're doing all the different things. You're making sure that you're in front of people. So I realized as a solo artist, I had to do the same thing. So I got my agent. I reconnected with everybody as far as like theater and film and television, and now voiceover was concerned, and I started doing a lot more. 2006 was the first time I did Funimation, and I was in One Piece, as we talked about earlier.
Go.
Episode
we talked about the One
4.
Piece beginnings.
And I was also that same day in Oron Host Club. So 2 classics in the same day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did they just tell you, hey, man, come in, we got something for you?
It's weird. Like, it's just kind of the same way they do it now. If you're new to the industry, they bring you in for like what they call Walla, which is with all actors, loop group stuff, and bits. And in both those shows, in One Piece, I played a whole bunch of different pirates and did a lot of screaming in that booth. In that booth with me, by the way, was Ben Phillips, who is a great writer and great actor in his own right now. And if you're not familiar with him, Charles Baker, who plays Skinny Pete in Breaking Bad. He was in that booth with me my first day. And that's all of us working at the same time, trying to, make it in this biz. And, he's made it in a different way. And I feel like I've made it in a different way. And Ben's made it in a different way. So I was a bunch of pirates, a bunch of bits in that. And in Oron, I was actually like an announcer for the school. So if you listen to the first couple episodes, you'll hear me pretty prominently. And from there, I came in and out more often, started doing more prominent roles, taking on supporting stuff, and eventually doing, bigger lead type roles. Most notably in my early career, when I started taking it much more seriously, Doc in Radiant, which was a really big, fun project for me for several years. And then through my connections in theater and through my connections, as far as like my network across the U.S., Funimation wanted to do kind of like an outreach thing where they were more representative, right? Getting a wider base of performers into anime, and they started that with Horimiya. And Horimiya, which is a great slice of life, high school love thing. Caitlin Glass directed it. That thing was essentially 100% BIPOC. And I was really proud of the work we did on that. And it got me really interested in the production side of things because I was an assistant director on that, along with helping with the casting.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
I decided I wanted to be more in that part of it. And so through acting, I found my way into the building. And through my network in building, I started shadowing and started assisting. And then I was given my own show, How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom,
Oh, that's
as a
awesome. Let's
contractor.
go, man. That must
And
have been a
shortly
nice
after
little
that,
jump for you.
oh yeah, it was great. And I got to work with great people on that one. Remote was still really big. So at the time, I mean, I worked with big hitters like Alejandro Saab, Kagi, and Anaris Quinones and Jenny Okobori, and on and on and on, like many, many different names in the industry who were just getting started or had already made names for themselves were involved in that project. And it was great to work with so many talented people. Shortly after that, I was hired on permanently, and I've been doing it for the past 3 years with Crunchyroll. And I've had a lot of projects since then. Lastly, which is we're about to air the last episode of it, I directed Alia Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian.
Oh, my peoples keeps telling me watch that. A lady friend of mine, she's like, "Hey, you check out this anime," and I'm like, "Man, there's just so much content out there that I'm trying to get to everything, but it's like, oh, there's so much anime out there." Speaking of animes that came out this year, because a lot of them came out this year, just alone in October, we got about 16 releases coming out next month. But you
Oh
voice
yeah.
directed Kaiju number 8, which is one of the biggest hits of this year, with alongside Solo Leveling and My Hero Academia season 7. Those are like the standouts of the year, man. So I kudos to you. I even hope y'all get nominations for this anime because it's a great, fun new take on the kaiju thing. And I'm a big fan of kaiju, like Pacific Rim and Godzilla and all that stuff. I love things like that. So Kaiju number 8 is definitely near and dear to me. Tell us a little bit about your work in Kaiju number 8. I know you got some dope stories, man. You're a voice director. You had to tell somebody, hey, let me get a little more in that.
Hey, Kaiju is great, and I love the way you brought in Pacific Rim because that's a direct inspiration for the mangaka artist, and also Godzilla. Godzilla was my hero growing up. Sorry, I got a little choking up here. Let me get a drink here.
Nah, go ahead.
No, man, everything about it is awesome, and the blend of big monsters and how you fight them and how you utilize their attacks and powers and the storytelling. Kaiju number 8 is just great. It was made for a Western type of audience, I think. It's big, it's loud, it's centric on the comedy, the relationships. Everybody in it is like they're in the same room, man. They get along with each other. They have great repertoire, repartee between each other. I think Nazeeh Tarsha, who plays Kafka, is just so strong. He's so hilarious. Abigail Blythe is kind of new to the industry. She's done a few things and is kind of picking up for herself, but her as Kikoro, man, she's so strong. And Caitlin Barr, who was also in Chainsaw Man,
Yeah,
uh, kills it.
she's
Um,
awesome.
and we love Yuji Itadori, Adam McArthur as Reno. He's the man, and like him and Nazeeh, like the way they play is great. And Landon McDonald playing like Hoshina, who's like one of the fan favorites. And you got people like Jonas Scott and Howard Wong doing the thing and rounding things out. It's just a really well balanced show, great talent across the board. And the funny thing about Kaiju, because of how like just explosive it is and how intense it can be, those moments with the characters and the relationships are what really send it. Um, so like for instance with Nazeeh, his character operates only at like a 1 or a 2, or he jumps up to like an 11, man. He's all like
Yeah.
serious as hell, or he's freaking out, right? And that's kind of like a tough thing in the booth to deal with because he's used to being in screamy type shows and really fighting with this thing. And he'll tell you himself if you get a hold of him that like he's like, yeah, I thought that like I could just prep myself and like get my instrument ready and just be ready for growls and yells and whatever. But it's like I'm going from like, hey, how's everybody doing? I'm really intense, and it's like freaking out like high screams through the face because Kafka's a wild man. Um, the show is just great, and the music's awesome, and not just the opening
Hmm.
and closing, right? I mean, you get One Republic, and you get, um, uh, sorry, One Republic on the closing, and you get Youngblood on the front end opening it, and like the animation on both ends very different, but like so awesome to look at. I never skip either one. Both are just badass. And even in the middle, with the composition, they've got this group called the Kaiju Band that plays through it, and their music's crazy, like throughout it.
Yeah.
And then you can see some of the behind the scenes stuff. They have full orchestras, like it's a damn movie, right? And
Oh,
when they
that's
brought it to
amazing.
us,
So
when
they
they
do
brought it
like
to us,
live,
oh
like,
yeah, if you go to Kaiju, if you go to uh Toho's site and like check out the behind the scenes stuff that they do, like you see like timpanis and brass and violins and like you see a conductor, he's like, oh, bringing it up, and you're like I'm like crying when I listen to it. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's how I feel. That's why I feel. That's why I feel it's so great. And
that's
the
awesome.
music's just intense and like the amount of effort they put into it. And when they brought it to us, they're like, we want this to be like a Marvel movie. That's literally how they sold it to
Mm.
us. And we're like, done. We want to do it that way. We want to make it as big and bombastic and awesome as possible. Our mix team, led by Nathaniel and Gino, those guys, they crushed it. The things that they did mix wise to kind of like blend the sounds and create this like transition from inside to out, the ambience, the way even mental dialogue works, and the way they got the rumble and the feel, like how the pressure on your chest with the audio, just so good. And they really went, full ham trying to do something different. And every time I reviewed it, blew me away. I just thought they were so awesome.
Mm. Awesome, man. What do you think was the most difficult thing about probably voice directing the series?
Um, well, the most difficult thing I think was, oh man, I don't know. I was having so much fun. It's kind of hard to think about the difficult things.
What about
Uh,
dubbing? Do you deal with the dubbing like trying to like transfer, or is that more like the script or the writers that have to do with that?
so we have a translation team, and then we have a time coding team that works out the timing of where those cues and stuff come up, and then we have an adaptation team that takes that and makes it into something that the actors can work with. And then when we get it in the room, even there, depending on the actor, depending on what I feel, we'll make adjustments to try to make these things work. Because we're trying to, of course, match to the flaps, but we're also trying to create dialogue that flows and dialogue that seems like it's coming from the characters. And, you've got real people in there and you've got real
Hmm.
personalities. So you want those things to kind of shine through. So it's a constant process of like massaging and adjusting and letting actors be free. And kind of the way I direct is I come from a theatrical background, so I like to give them like the whole performance of a scene, right? I like to have them review whole things and get the context of it, take a crack at the whole thing and stay in the moment and like perform it all the way through rather than kind of doing it one at a time, you know? And it keeps their energy up. And to me, when you're doing that sort of thing and getting everybody to do that sort of thing, it allows for acting, reacting, playing off each other, you know, bouncing the ball back and forth, making sure, you know, you're one-upping and giving somebody something to work with. And when you do that, man, like the energy, it's electric. People just keep going for it. People are willing to explore. People get comfortable. People start taking ownership of those characters and like it becomes a part of them. So a lot of it's, you know, inseparable sometimes, right? You know, like the way they behave becomes a lot of what the character is. And we got people to do some crazy things in there. I think one of the funnest things we did was having Alejandro Saab show up as Kaiju number 9, like the main villain in the show, right?
Yeah.
And the weird voice and like kind of like quirky way he moves and like operates and talks. That was something that like he and I explored in depth and tried to make sure that we had this kind of like uncanny valley, like just this really unsettling thing about the character. And then with the mix team and some of the crazy things they were doing, how they layered the monster voices, right? Because those are all human,
Mm-hmm.
but like the voices layered on top of each other, how they, you know, mixed up, created these rumbles within those voices. And so like you have, you know, Kaiju number 8's got his, you know, heroic voice undertone with like a really monstrous thing. Kaiju number 9's really quirky and weird. Yet Kaiju number 10, which was Brent Mukai, that guy is just huge and just brash and bold. That was a you were speaking earlier about what was the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge sometimes is getting like these yells, these intense yells that like occupy so much time and space. Kaiju number 10 had a lot of those. He has this call out when he first shows up where he's calling all the flying wyverns, you know, and it's like, "Ugh," and it goes on for like 20 plus seconds. And so you have to kind of like work with the actor and work with editing to kind of like get a full intense like yell like that. And he both episodes that he's like a major factor in, he ends both shows with a huge scream, a huge roar.
I
And
love it.
those are always fun to do because you're like, you know, when an actor gets in there, like, oh yeah, we always want to do Dragon Ball Z. We want to power up. We want to scream. We want to yell. And then
Yeah.
the first time an actor gets in there and does that, if they haven't done that in a while or they're not experienced with it, what happens is they take a big breath and they blow it all out in like the first 2 or 3 seconds, right? And then they're like, oh man, that's all I got. And I'm like, let's work on that. Let's channel that. Let's learn to control like a rock and roll singer, like a metal singer. Like, how do you get that voice out and maintain the yell for a long period of time? And so you have to like remind them that the microphone will do most of the work for them, right? You don't have to blow out the wall in the studio to get the best yell ever. You just have to have a full supported it's like singing, man. You just got to have a full supported concentrated note that you're putting out there and save your voice to power through all of it. It's not about how wide and quickly you can get all that stuff out. It's like how you can support it. And those are things that like young actors and stuff don't know until they get there and get to the chance to do it. Or unless they've led a band themselves and have done a lot of screaming type stuff, you know.
You know what I noticed too, now that you brought like the rock and roll aspect in it, a lot of voice actors come from, you know, either musical, theater, or something like that before voice acting. Do you that I'm seeing the pattern here that it probably helps them a lot more in this field, which is pretty dope. Man, I'm excited for Kaiju number 8 season 2. I hope you back doing your thing because man, this was an awesome show. And to make season 2 just as awesome, I feel like one of the key ingredients, you have to bring everybody. Everybody plays such a major role in bringing animation like this together. So, oh man, thank you so much for what was an amazing series. Can we expect it sometime next year? Do you think it's going to be, you know, more like a 2-year delay or something? When's the next time you think we'll see Kaiju number 8?
Well, I mean, they did make an announcement at on the last episode that they were going to bring out the next season, summer 2025.
Ooh, let's
So it's
go.
coming. They ain't wasting any time, man. They're on
Hey, I
that
can't
yearly
wait
track.
for it, man. I hope we talking to you next summer about season 2. I'm all
That'd be
for it.
awesome, man.
That'd be awesome. Let's talk about, anime that's ending soon, probably the next season. We'll probably get maybe 1 or 2 seasons more. I think like one more because the manga is officially over. It ended
Right.
in August. That's My Hero Academia. But they did say that they have a prequel, I think Vigilantes maybe in the works, and spin-offs as well. Now, you wasn't My Hero yourself as a supporting role or additional voice, right? Would you like to come back to My Hero as a more prominent role or a recurring role? How do you feel about this universe and it ending?
I love My Hero. My Hero is one of those projects that I'm sad to see come to an end, but the universe is such that you could keep it going if you wanted to. Villains being an example, and then prequels and side stories and stuff like that are just starting the story over again with somebody else within that universe. But I have been in essentially every season of My Hero, I think, except the current one. And I've played heroes and been on hero teams in some of the earlier seasons. And in the late seasons, I was the warden of Tartarus when the jailbreak happened. And then right in
Mm.
season 4, I was a member of the Kai, the Eight Bullets. I played Hekiji Tengai with Rappa. It's the shield and spear character that
Oh
fights with Fat
yeah.
Gum and Kirishima. So I was that guy with the blonde with the plague mask on, and he's very low key, and Rob is like, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass, So it's like, you have the really big kind of like brash character next to like the like kind of understated character, and I really enjoyed doing that. A lot of the guys that were on that team, as far as the villain squad, Kellen Goff as Overhaul, and those guys, we all got together and celebrated and
Oh,
had
that's
lunch and enjoyed
awesome.
it. Yeah, and not all of us live in the same area, man. Like it was tough organizing and getting us together.
What was your
But
favorite person in My Hero to voice? What was your favorite one to dub out,
oh,
out of all the characters?
Hikage for sure is my number one because I like the villain. I like his story. In the manga, he's got a lot more going on. I was a little sad with how short a lot of those guys' stories were in season 4, but generally speaking, I like him. I loved doing the warden. The warden was just intense, and he was not a good guy either. But he showed off a lot more of like the prejudice of like normal people to like the hero society,
Yeah.
and how he looked at, he was even within the context of the show, he was warned by like people he worked with, like, hey man, you can't talk like that. I'm like, what are you, like, um, that guy was a lot of fun to do too. But Gang Orca in some of the earlier seasons, I was part of that squad, and I played in the Stain arc. I was one of the heroes running around being like, oh, what do we do? Like, where are these kids at?
That was one of my
Um,
favorite arcs too.
that's a good arc, man. I like it. I think my favorite character outside of myself is my boy Lemillion. I freaking love Rico
Oh
Fajardo as that
yeah,
character.
man.
Mirio is the best. I think he's
I got
he's like the,
something
the
over
goodest
there of
boy.
him. He's like right here at the bottom, right
Oh,
there.
I see it. I see his cape.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty dope. I like that character a lot too. So man, I can't wait for more My Hero. I hope to see you in more spin-offs and vigilantes. Cross our fingers if the rumors are true. But let's talk about some more rumors, right? Right now there's no confirmed announcement for Black Clover season 5. But we
Yeah.
did recently get a movie, Black Clover, the Sword of the Wizard King, which was pretty dope. Fans are going crazy. They're supporting it. They want another season. And it's almost, I was talking to someone yesterday. I believe it was who was it? Derek Snow, who
Oh
plays
yeah. Yeah.
Real in Black Clover. And he's like, it's almost in a definite. Is that a
Mr.
season?
Ego and Blue Lock, which Blue
Mm-hmm.
Lock is coming back too.
Yeah, it's coming back August 5th. I mean, excuse me, October 5th. So, he was like, it's almost a definite that we'll get a season 5. Now, my thing is, I heard rumors that they're gonna treat it like some of the new gen animes. Like it's not gonna be a weekly thing. It's gonna be a more 12 to 24 episode season, something like they want to do with Boruto also. And they kind of paused production, not because of the ratings or because of the, season. They just wanted it to catch up with the manga so they don't, you know, basically
Overlap,
have that
like
problem
go
where
ahead of it. Yeah, yeah.
they're caught up. So what do you think about this? What's your take on it? And you was a character in Black Clover. You was part of the Devil Banishers
Heck yeah.
as Kaibui. So what do you think about this whole thing and what's your take on Black Clover?
Yeah, Black Clover is one of those mainstays. A lot of people when it initially was rolling out, like, oh, could it be the part of the new big three or whatever? I like Black Clover. I like a lot of the people in it. I think that like its potential is through the roof as far as what it can do. Um, it's a show that I've been involved with in and out of. Um, Dallas Reed is awesome, in the lead of that, and I think Chris George has been the director of it since day one. If not most, he's definitely had the majority of it. Uh, I don't know, man. I don't follow Black Clover as closely as I do a lot of other things. I've watched the beginning of it, and I've watched the stuff that I was in, and I've kind of kept up with the movie stuff, but I want Black Clover to continue on. It's like Fairy Tale to me. It's one of those I really kind of enjoy it, and I'm glad like Fairy Tale's back, and I'm glad Black Clover had the movie. I think that like when there's a huge fan base and they have more story to tell and it gets picked up and gets told, then it's great for everybody. I just all you have to do is honor it, tell a good story, give it the good animation, bring the people back that, everyone wants to see, and you got yourself, a winner. It's easy when you do it like that.
That's amazing. I can't wait for Black Clover. Let's talk about more of stuff that you have done and that you have been a part of, right? If you was to give somebody 3 recommendations from your catalog to watch, what would be the 3 animes that you would suggest to them?
If you want to get to know me, obviously Kaiju number 8's great. Like it's a banger, and for me to not recommend it would be a disservice to myself and to the industry. It's a great show. Um, Underneath that, I would say the Apothecary Diaries. It's
What is that about?
it's ancient China, not really China, but like set in ancient China. Um, it came out the same time as Frieren. It was like competing back and forth. The lead girl Mao Mao in it is a girl that drinks poison and likes to experiment, and she works for the concubines of the emperor to like take care of them, and she solves mysteries like a young Sherlock Holmes. Emmy Lowe plays that character, and the kind of like love interest who's not really a love interest. It's kind of a one-way street. Like KG Tang plays, the other main character, and
Yeah.
he is super into Mao Mao, but like Mao Mao canonically is asexual, and she don't care.
Yeah,
She's
she
like,
don't
yeah, I'm not
care.
in, I'm not into that. And their relationship and the way they do things is great. And the reason why I mention it, beyond the fact that it's Toho and it's beautiful, it's like music, animation, top tier, everything about its peak. But I operate my whole platform as an artist, as a creative, is a platform of justice and inclusivity. So, in giving the proper access to shows and representing them properly. So that doesn't mean excluding anybody, to hone in on one group or anything like that. But for the Apothecary Diaries, it's heavily Chinese centric. And so both my leads have strong Chinese backgrounds. They both speak it. I have other supporting characters and other major characters within it that speak Chinese and are supported by a very strong BIPOC kind of like cast. And I could recommend a number of other shows that kind of like highlight that. But as far as a top 3 of things to get to know me and understand where I'm coming from, I would also recommend Requiem of the Rose King, because that was my first show I did as a full-time employee. And I have a strong Shakespeare background, and my platform really suited it too. The Shakespeare background comes into play because it's a mashup of Henry VI Part 3 and Richard III. It's technically a boy love show. Richard is not got a hunch. Richard is intersex. So the conceit of the show is Richard kind of looks like a man, but everybody's weirdly attracted to Richard. And like everyone doesn't know what to do about that. And like it's the Wars of the Roses. Like there's war, there's death, there's huge drama, there's lots and lots of Shakespeare that I got to work with the writer Jessica Slies on like adapting and putting into it, and Tyler Walker helped with that as well. And it's acting wise, cast wise, textually, it's the strongest show I've ever worked on. But animation wise, that kind of show doesn't get much of a budget, right? So there's beautiful art in it, but a lot of the animation, like they make up for it in scenes where like if you're a servant or if you're like a soldier, like no name, they didn't put a face on you. You just kind of in the background, right? And there was a lot of watercolor kind of stills type stuff. But that show has a lot of love that was put into it and a lot of creativity, and it showed the potential of what even a dub, even if it exists already as a Japanese product, that you can bring a dub over and while still honoring the work the seiyus did, applying your kind of stamp on it, because it is a Shakespeare show, but the language doesn't suit the same way Japanese and English does to Shakespeare. Shakespeare's an English, performed sort of thing, and there are adaptation and adjustments for it. But like we got to use that language and put it into the show, and it, really reflected what was actually being done. And the mangaka artist has been really gracious about watching what we did and really getting into the work that we've done. And I love it. I think those three are great shows. They may not, Kaiju and Apothecary are probably my top two shows. And I'm going out on a limb with Requiem because I love Requiem, and it was led by Kieran Strange, who's badass. Kieran Strange is a English-born actor that transplanted to Canada, that moved to here and led that show. And Kieran is trans-masculine, and he kicks ass. I love Kieran to death. And Kieran's also led many, many shows for us. And Kieran also is in Borderlands, as one of the main characters in Borderlands. So Kieran kicks a lot of ass.
He was also in Borderlands, right?
Oh yeah, I was in Borderlands 3 and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Oh, that's awesome. What did you feel about the movie? Because it was one of critically really like done dirty, and financially it was probably one of the biggest flops of the year. But how did you feel about the movie yourself? Like your opinion, because sometimes we hear things and then we see it and this is a nice, fun little movie. But how did you feel about it?
Everybody who's seen it has said the same thing. Has been like, hey, it was just fun. It's a fun movie, and like it wasn't what you maybe 100% expected to go see. I personally am not really a fan of what went down.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna do Borderlands, you need to do it like Mad Max. That's how I feel. It needs to be crazy. It needs to be like full, like gritty.
I say
know
rated R, definitely.
Yeah, rated R,
rated
definitely.
R.
Cartoony rated R. I don't care if you're gonna goof and have a good time, but it needs to just be all that intensity and grit. And I think there was a lot of distractions in it. I think the producer was working on multiple projects. I think the director was working on other things that he was more passionate about, and like the casting was about like what names could we get associated with the show rather than just casting a good show and like getting a good story, man. Like Borderlands, there's the shit's right there for you. Just pull from what's already there, You don't have to get crazy. You don't have to go, outside the box and do something to mess it up. And I think that it's indicative, like it's reflective of that situation, why it is the way it is, why it bombed, why it's getting panned. And that's a shame because I was super excited for it. I wanted great success for it. I love every person at Gearbox. I love everybody involved in those properties, and I think they do great work. I just think that Borderlands the movie was a miss.
Yeah, because we had Jim Ferranda on the show. He plays Claptrap.
Claptrap, man, he's so good. Yeah. Jim Ferranda is one of the most talented voice actors out there. If anybody
his
needs work.
range was crazy through the interview. When he was on, he turned into like 50 different people. I'm not even gonna lie. And it was like, his range was so dope. And we was talking about Borderlands. And like, I told him, and I think he kind of, he kind of enjoyed the movie or whatever the case may be, because he's more of a wholesome, good spirit type of person. He's really kind-hearted, things like that. But my whole problem with it was, I feel like the script and the casting was the problem. I think, like you said, it should have been more grit. It should have been more gruesome. It should have been more action. And the casting shouldn't have been. I believe they would have went with no names, and it would have been this small, and they would have put more of that money towards, more of a gruesome, more of a violent type thing. Like you said, Mad Max.
I agree.
100%. It would have been a whole different outcome.
Because guess what, man? Fury Road, Furiosa, those things are badass. Those, to me, that's Borderlands. That's the better Borderlands. Go watch those,
Exactly. And that's
and
like a
wild.
Borderlands Furiosa and all that is like what Borderlands should be out of space.
Yeah.
That's what we should be getting. We should be getting Mad Max out of space, but
that's exactly. And it's Looney Tunes in those movies too. You got the Chrome Boys on pipes and like people dive bombing and they do wild things in that, yet everything they do in those movies I take seriously. I think they're great. I don't look at it and go, I don't believe that, Why would they do that? I think everything they do in those movies, I'm like, yep, that sounds right. That's fucked up. That's fucked up, but that sounds right.
Hopefully they go back to the drawing board and hopefully, they get the product right. Like there's another movie that came out that into Warcraft. Like I wouldn't mind seeing Warcraft done again, just more like Warcraft, like more.
And
legit.
That movie actually wasn't even that bad. That was.
It wasn't. I enjoyed it, but a lot of people did. But I feel like if they make it more grounded, like some of the like 300 or Gladiator, like stuff like that.
Oh, those are badass.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite. Gladiator is actually my favorite movie of all time, so I'm hyped to go see Gladiator
Part
2
2
in November.
I'm surprised, man. Like I can't believe it, but the stuff I've seen looks pretty good. I'm like, it's one of those things that's like you get a little scared, but everything I've seen has been good so far, and I'm just like, oh, come on, please be good, please be good,
because it's my favorite movie all time. So to get a sequel, like what has it been, like 20 odd years?
God, yeah, man, it's been so long. Yeah, it's been since 2000, 2001.
Yeah, so it's
maybe. God, man, it's been a long time.
That's what I'm saying, man. I wish they would have did. I'm hyped for it no matter what. But let's move on. Let's talk about your Mount Rushmore of voice actors. People that may have impacted your life or people in the business that you feel like has impacted the business so much. So you get 4 choices. They could be your opinion only. Who is your Mount Rushmore of voice actors in today's game or all time?
I think Stephen Bloom has to be mentioned right off the bat. I think Cowboy Bebop, if he did nothing else but Spike, that he'd still be a legend, right? That's
definitely, man. I actually had the pleasure of going see the man Spike. Shout out Stephen Bloom, man.
Yeah,
he was amazing. Man. He's awesome.
I think that I'd be remiss if I didn't say Chris Sabat. If you're talking about anime, you gotta have Sabat, man. Vegeta, Piccolo, All Might. I mean, he's done all of them, and I say those 3 characters, but he's like just within Dragon Ball alone, he's like 50 characters, and he does like all the voices, man, and he's got that present voice, and you think of like when you hear and think of like hero, like All Might is immediate, right? He's like right there, present. I think Elizabeth Maxwell. I think she's like so badass, underrated. She does a lot of video games. She was in Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom.
Game.
I know, and I think she's an amazing performer. So grounded. Midnight could have been one of those throwaway characters in My Hero, and she like embodied it really, really well, and didn't make it. The character itself is kind of like sexy and kind of pushes the limits, and I think that she was able to. It takes a talented person to take something like that and make that character beloved, right? To the point where people aren't just like, oh fuck yeah, because when she went out, everyone was like, oh, they did Midnight dirty. They didn't give Midnight nothing. And like Midnight's hardly, present throughout the whole thing. She's there, but like, everyone wanted Midnight to have a better out. And I think that like let's see here.
Yeah, one more.
Number four. Number four. I feel like I want to mention uh who's it there? Because you're talking about the, like you don't want to like, scoot anybody off the trying to think of my favorite things. Wait, put a pin in that. Let me think about that. Come back. I don't
All
want to
right, we
scoot
come
anybody
back
off.
to that. What about your top
Yeah.
three animes of all time?
Cowboy Bebop's right there as far as series go. Cowboy Bebop. Um, I'm he. I don't want to be a prisoner to the moment, but Frieren has
Aaron?
become like Frieren could be like my number one right now. Frieren is so good. It like moves me. It's an unbelievable piece of work, I think. And I hope that it's one of those things when you get one season, you don't want to fall in love with it too much because there's some that have like held on for forever, right? Cowboy Bebop was one season, just 20. I don't know if you really call it a season, right? Just 25, 26
Yeah, I would
episodes,
love to see a remake of that, man. Well, not even a remake, a continuation
just a
of
continuation, yeah.
something.
And they did the movie, and the movie was good too. Frieren, I don't like I said, I don't want to be prisoner at the moment, but at the moment, Frieren's like tops for me. It's in there, and I probably got to go with Brotherhood, man. I love Brotherhood.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Like,
That's amazing. Are
and I
there
feel like
any upcoming or ongoing animes you would like to be a part of? That
there's one I could say it right now because being a man over 40 and looking for lead opportunities, Sakamoto Days is coming out.
Oh,
I
yes,
want
on
I want
Netflix.
to be involved with that so bad. I want to be in that show, so I want to be Sakamoto so bad. Like I feel it in my heart, I feel it in my bones. I feel like I could do that role. Reach out, shout out to anybody that sees this. Get me involved with that. I've been like leaning on my agent. Send me those auditions. I need to get in that show. I need to have a crack at it.
Man, I
Uh
wish you the best of luck, man, because that would be awesome if you get that. Because I'm hyped for Sakamoto Days. Even when they announced it during Geek Week 2024, I was like, oh,
yeah.
yeah, it's about to go down. But yeah, so Sakamoto Days, anything else?
Well, it's kind of happening now. I'm really excited for Dan to Dan.
Ooh.
I think that one's pretty dope. And I gotta see Dragon Ball Daima. I gotta see what happens there. I need to know. You know,
Yeah, I'm
it's the
excited for that
last
too.
it's the last story Akira Toriyama told. It's his last original property. They can continue on with Super and do whatever. Everyone wants Super to go on, and I do too. But like, I'm gonna give Daima everything just because that's the last one. That's from him. And
Yeah.
I hope it's awesome. I hope it's so good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we got a whole bunch of Dragon Ball content coming out next month with Sparking Zero
Oh my God,
being
everybody
yeah.
on Earth's in that.
Yeah, everybody. I'm not even gonna lie. They're launching with over 160 characters. The biggest
Yeah.
fighting game probably that's gonna be around for the next few years. It's awesome to see. Are there any lines that resonate with you from any one of your characters on a personal level?
Uh, let's see here. Uh, there's this character, Manabu Takasake, in a show called Nichijou, My Ordinary Life.
Yeah.
It's a comedy. This is a little, extreme, crazy Japanese comedy. Everyone thought it was undubbable. And it's not even a full line, but he's specifically very much in love with this other teacher, and everything that comes out of him bursts out of him like a plant, like it grows. And
Mhm.
so he has this phrase, this line that he's just every time something happens, he's like sprout, 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 sprout. Like he's just so excited and love is just pouring out of him, and like I love it. I love the idea that grow, sprout, please happen. be something, that really resonates with me.
That's actually so fire. That's amazing.
I love that.
That's
I
a
love
nice
that.
one. That's one of the best one I heard on any of the interviews, as one of the best ones. All right, so now we come to the end of the show. You still got to give us one more for your Mount Rushmore. But heroes and villains, while he thinks real quick, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what voice actors you would like to see here on the channel. Any heroes or villains from your favorite anime shows. If you request them, we'll try our hardest to get them on the show. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Also, let people know where they can find you at on social media.
You can find me at any social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, under @ReadyKafka, ReadyKafka. And everyone talks about that too. Like, that's been my handle for forever. And they're like, "Oh, Kaiju, did you know Kafka?" I was like, "Nah, it's an old Spaceballs joke that I've used for my entire career." So you can find me on any platform under Ready Kafka.
You excited for Spaceballs too?
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Give it. Just, I don't care. Any more Spaceball spoofs, any Mel Brooks spoofs, I'm down for. I was gonna say.
So you got your final one?
Yeah, man. I think this is gonna sound like a cheat, because I've just worked with him, but I love his work, and JJK and all the stuff that he's done is off the charts. So I think KG Tang, you put him on my Mount Rushmore. The man deserves it anyways. That man's like in the modern day,
hardest person to get in touch with. I'm not gonna lie. I went to go see him, right? Got his
I'm surprised you got a hold of
Adam.
I'm surprised you got a hold of Adam. They're both on the road traveling, doing conventions and meetups and stuff. They're traveling all the time. They're like always out there, man.
Yeah, it's
impossible
very
to
hard to
hold
get
him.
a hold of him because he doesn't have no. Usually, I try to go through agents, so I didn't see no agent information or none. But definitely, man, we got to get him on the show. He's with Gojo.
Yeah, he's with Atlas. If you want to look up the agency, he's with
Atlas. Yeah, I definitely gotta see if we can get him on the show. 'Cause that would be dope. I think getting most of the JJK members on the show will be really dope because as everybody who's watching this is made time of recording, it might be a little old information, but JJK is ending on Sunday. Like the final chapter is coming out on Sunday, so it's gonna be really exciting to see JJK moving forward in the anime and things like that. We'll probably get like one more movie, one more season, so pretty hyped for that. But awesome choice. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You're welcome back anytime. Heroes, villains, make sure you love yourself, pass that love on, and love others. And until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're out of here.
Sing it with me, pretty Cali, pretty Cali.